If it were up to the American government, Polyface Farm would not exist. Joel Salatin is known as the lunatic farmer because he believes in a righteous food system and standing up to big government bureaucrats who want to control our food. He's endured harassment, summonses, confiscations, surprise visits, and criminal charges since opening Polyface in 1961, America's premier non-industrial food production oasis located in Virginia's Shenandoah Valley. Many small farmers have tried to fight but lost the battle. It's too expensive and the legalese is difficult to circumvent. This interview is about a farmer's lifetime dealing with these issues and why you should feel empowered to grow your own food, or at least support the local organic regenerative farmer in your area. Joel is using food as a ministry. I highly recommend watching this interview on the Real Alex Clark YouTube channel. Joel is very animated, as you know I am too, and it's just really fun to watch for the whole family. After you listen, look for my 20-minute farm mini documentary and tour of Polyface on YouTube. It would mean the world to me if you left a 5-star review to support this podcast at no cost to you. If you believe in what I'm doing, which is interviewing experts with a unique remedy on how to heal a sick culture physically, mentally, and spiritually, and you are financially blessed, you can leave a tax-deductible donation for the show through the link in the description. Tell them, I want to donate specifically to The Spillover. We are produced by a 501c3 nonprofit, so everything we do is funded strictly through donations from viewers like you who are passionate about this same mission. I was able to tour Joel's regenerative farm and interview him in person about his American legacy because of your donations. Joel Salatin is the poster child of regenerative organic farming and was the star of the documentary Food Inc., one of my favorites of all time, Kiss the Ground, and featured at length in the New York Times bestseller, The Omnivore's Dilemma. Look! Homework to watch. Joel is downright funny and entertaining in his quest for true food freedom for Americans, something I strongly believe in. Please welcome him to The Spillover. When I was in the farm store earlier, I asked one of the young girls, she said she was an apprentice and she was young. And I said, have you asked Joel yet how many marriages have spawned from kids being apprentices together at this farm? There has to be tons.
There are. We're averaging 1.5 a year.
No way.
Yeah, there's been a bunch.
Yeah, because you've got these kids. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of them homeschool families, ag families that want to come learn. And then how long do they come here for?
5 months is the minimum. So the stewardship program is May 1 to September 30, 5 months. And then if they want to be an apprentice, they put their name in the hat for the apprentice. And we pick anywhere from 2 to 4 of those. And then they go October 15 to October 15. So the 3 apprentices this year were stewards last year. So you have this, this nice continuity, and they become then the first level managers of this year's stewards.
And how old are they? I mean, what's the youngest?
18. You have to be 18.
Okay. And that's probably not your rule. I'm assuming that's like the state.
We used to take them at 15, 16, but then, OSHA and the government regulations on child labor and all this stuff. A 16-year-old can get a driver's license and hurdle 3,000 pounds of steel down the interstate at 70 miles an hour. But a cordless drill, that's a power tool. That's, you can't put a 16-year-old with a power tool. So they have to be 18.
So these parents are, I mean, their kids are technically young adults, but I mean, still really young. But you've got parents agreeing to send their kids to hang out for 5 months with the lunatic farmer. I mean, other parents are probably like, you're sending them where? Why do people call you that? Why do you call yourself that?
Well, so that started years ago when I was called a bioterrorist, a typhoid Mary, numerous things. I mean, I was told why do you want to kill? Why do you want to kill half the planet? Because we all know that, if you don't use chemicals, everybody's going to die of starvation. You have the tension between, well, do I get frustrated at this, or do I just, all right, fun. Let's have fun with it.
Lean into it.
So I decided to lean into it and have fun with it. So I came up with my own moniker. So he's environmentalist. So he's for, teachers unions, abortion, higher taxes, more government, more EPA, more regulations, more, no, I'm not any of that, so I was this anomaly in the overall genre of environmental farming. And so I decided to to take the moniker. I fully embrace being the weirdo.
Was it hard to make friends with the other farmers?
Oh, it's always been hard to make friends with other farmers. I mean, our own community still calls me a bioterrorist and a typhoid Mary and all this stuff because they really believe that our unvaccinated cows are going to get sick and they're going to give diseases to their cows. Of course, they're vaccinated, right? So if vaccines work, why should they fear my unvaccinated? I finally took on this moniker, you know, Christian libertarian environmentalist capitalist lunatic farmer, basically saying, don't put me in a box.
Yeah.
You know, there are some things, for example, some things on a local level, I'd almost be a socialist. You know, I mean, if a community doesn't want a factory farm to be located in the geographic boundaries of a community, fine. But it's totally different at the federal level. There are things that can or should be done, or I would embrace or endorse, you know, at a local level that I wouldn't at state or federal and all the way down the line.
Are American farmers basically prisoners?
Yes, yes. What a great question. So if I was king for a day, like if I was sovereign, and people ask me, what would one thing, what would be the one thing that you would do if you like were sovereign? The one thing I would do, I would pass a food emancipation proclamation. Now that's a strong word, all right, I get it, but the fact is, our food system is enslaved by a plethora of regulations that have been put in place by the abuses of the agri-industrial complex that plays a completely different game, both in worldview and in practice than direct market, small scale, neighborhood, community oriented outfits.
Now, people have heard of big food, but they've maybe not heard of big ag. What is big agriculture?
Okay, so big agriculture is about centralizing food. You have centralized processing facilities. You have centralized factory farm production facilities. You have centralized, Chicago Board of Trade. You got centralized marketing systems, and you've even got centralized, food chains, supermarkets. The result of that concentration and centralization of of the commodities is a concessionized regulatory structure that prejudices small outfits. Let's just say that to make charcuterie, all right, I want to make charcuterie. That to do that and sell it legally, I need a $5,000 special cold chain food chain thermometer. Okay, well, if I'm making a tractor trailer load of charcuterie or 10 tractor trailer loads, a $5,000 thermometer is a spit in the ocean. It's nothing. Okay, it's just okay, it's a little. But if I'm making a 5-gallon bucket full in my kitchen, it's an enterprise stopper.
I mean, I'm thinking about like seeds, for example. Like, you know how there's all these rules about what you can and can't do. And a lot of people feel like I can't get out of government subsidies to even go in the regenerative direction if I wanted to.
The single biggest impediment of an integrity food system is the regulatory structure that is highly prejudicial against innovation. So the government came in years ago and tried to close down our chicken processing. Now we process in an open air shed, and they came in and said, this is illegal. Your open air, the air is unsanitary.
What?
Yeah. And so fortunately, we had a lab report that had just been done that showed that our chicken averaged 133 colony forming units of bacteria per milliliter to the second permutation. And I've already told you more than I understand. I mean, that's just the way they write it. And the store-bought birds that had 40 chlorine baths, ours had no chlorine. The store-bought ones cultured 3,600 CFU per mill to the second permutation. 3,600 compared to 133. All right. We were that much cleaner. And so I look at these folks and I say, so are we interested in clean, or are we interested in concrete, stainless steel, light bulbs, and infrastructure? They said, well, that isn't, it's just not about clean. I said, well, what else? They said, well, you need changing lockers for your employees. So back at that time, we don't have any employees. I said, and 50 feet from where we're processing these chickens, we've got 2 bathrooms in our house. Mom has 2 bathrooms in her house. And if I want to go number 1, I just step behind a tractor,
And it's like, what does any of that have to do with how clean the chicken breast is?
Nothing. Nothing whatsoever. And clearly it didn't. And we were, 25 times cleaner than what was in the store that had the USDA inspection sticker on it and had 40 chlorine baths.
Why does DC come up with these types of strange rules for farmers? Why do they even care?
Because it's a one-size-fits-all.
Okay.
Essentially. And there are some people who would answer that question, well, it's a conspiracy and all this stuff. No. I don't think so. I mean, the industry, what happens is you have consumer advocates, the Ralph Naders, all right, the consumer advocates. We want to change. How this developed is that in 1906, when Upton Sinclair wrote The Jungle, okay, and exposed the horrible things that were happening at Armour and Swift and Company and these great big food processing companies, it dropped sales from those big companies 50% in 6 months. And people started buying from their local butcher shops, their local farmers. It was the biggest exodus from the industrial food system. This is 1906, okay? And the big companies were going bankrupt. So they went to Teddy Roosevelt, who was really a socialist. I call him Teddy Rooseveltsky. And they went to Teddy Rooseveltsky and said, hey, please, we need a government agency to certify us and give us credibility with the American consumer again. And so he obliged and gave them the Food Safety Inspection Service.
Mm.
And since 1908, with the Food Safety Inspection Service, there's been a steady decline in small-scale food systems, because what happens is the regulations that get written go through a funnel, if you will, of the industrial food system. I mean, they all drank the same Kool-Aid. They all went to the same college. They all play golf together. And so the agri-industrial and regulatory complex, it's a revolving door, right? I mean, the guy that Obama put in charge of Food Safety Modernization Act as his new food czar was the attorney who shepherded genetically modified organisms through Monsanto. All right. So you have this fox guarding the hen house.
Yes.
And that's what happens. And so the regulations are non-scalable. That's the most important thing to realize.
And they're also to benefit themselves. It's not to benefit us as consumers.
They would say their motives are pure as a wind-driven snow, and if we don't have these regulations, everybody's going to die. I mean, I remember testifying at Richmond at a hearing in Richmond on a guy that put in a bill for cottage industry, local food systems, and the head of Virginia the Virginia Department of Agriculture commissioner pulled me aside, and I was one of the testifiers in favor of granting some leeway for small scale operations. He pulls me aside. He says, Joel, he says, we can't give people choice in their food. If we did, we couldn't build hospitals fast enough to handle all the sick people getting tainted food from unregulated farmers. I mean, this is the world they live in. They actually believe this. He was sincere, and I'm sure he's a nice, sincere man. I have no reason to think he was making this up. But this is the world they live in. They actually believe that if you as a consumer had a choice to come to my farm, look around, ask around, smell around, and as 2 voluntary consenting adults engage in consensual food transactions, and I'm using, okay?
Uh-huh.
All right. That we would actually have more sickness than we do with concentrated animal feeding operations, GMOs, and processed food.
So this is
within the industry.
where I think a lot of people get confused. You're saying basically you should have more questions and more distrust for a company like Tyson Walmart getting your meat from them than just your neighbor farmer down the road trying to sell you. But the American people have been brainwashed to think, my neighbor is the last person I can trust when it comes to food safety. Why do people have that backwards?
Well, for one thing, they've been through government school and told what to believe in the government school. And the only things worth believing are things that a government report tells you should believe in.
Of course.
We've been pushed that direction. What happened with the industrial food system was a new opaqueness in the food system. Before 1900, if you go back to 1800, 1700, good night, the Middle Ages. I mean, history up until the Industrial Revolution, which officially started in 1837. If you go back, the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker were embedded in the community. In fact, they lived in an apartment above their shop, and they went to church in the community. They were in philanthropic organizations. Everybody knew who the charlatan was. They knew who the dirty butcher was. They knew who the shyster was. They knew who, okay? And so there was kind of a village conscience, a village voice. Along came the Industrial Revolution, and things started to centralize, industrialize, and the village voice was lost. I mean, this kind of village, as you started shipping and
kind
moving.
Of like an accountability check on the people.
Right, an accountability. Yeah, that kind of village accountability check didn't happen. So what happens is, as you started getting no trespassing, the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker became too big for a community. And they started having, no trespassing razor wire around, and check-in gates and security guard gates and things. And what happens when people feel ignorant about something? Well, they start to fear it. You fear the unknown, right? And so people began to fear food. They began to fear these food. What are they doing behind those fences? What are they doing in those walls? They won't let me in. They've got a guard. You see what I'm saying? And this creates fear, which then moves toward paranoia. And so the cry of the people, if you will, was, we need something bigger than the industry to vet them, to check up on them. So we need an industrial vetting for the industrial food system. So this brings us 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And then all of a sudden we get Uber, we get Airbnb. I mean, who would have thought 10 years before Uber happened, if I said, you know what, in 10 years, we're all going to get in cars with people that don't even have taxi written on the top, haven't been to chauffeur school. The car hasn't been vetted through chauffeur licensing. And we're going to get in and they're going to take us places. And there's not going to be any government regulation at all. We're just going to do this voluntarily. You just said you were crazy, right? What made that happen? The internet. Real-time democratized monitoring, auditing, vetting.
The village voice came back.
Yes, but it came back on a global scale.
Yes.
So here's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that whatever's gone in the past has gone in the past. Today, we have Airbnb. We've got Uber. It is time to Uberize our food system. We now have the ability, if somebody comes to our farm, doesn't like our chicken, man, social media lights up. Don't go to Polyface. I got bad chicken. All right. And so when you were asking about what's the difference between Cargill and a farm like ours, is we're vulnerable. We don't have Philadelphia attorneys on retainer to protect us from people. We don't have the ear of the New York Times. We don't have people on retainer in senatorial offices to protect us. Okay, we're out here on our own. We're staking our own brand, our own reputation, and it's me and you, baby. The producer and the patron.
So basically, if there is a complaint, if your product was actually bad, if your food was terrible, it would be very hard to hide that.
Absolutely.
If people came out, we would know. Whereas if somebody comes out and starts speaking about Tyson, they've got all of these different hoops that they would have to jump through. They would silence that person.
Yes.
It's a lot harder for the truth to get out about those food companies.
Think about what happens every time there's a recall. All right, when there's rat pee in the peanut butter, Georgia, when there's E. coli in the lettuce, California, whatever. Every single time there's a recall, what's the first thing that happens? The CEO of the company calls a press conference and he says, "We have complied with all government food safety regulations." The industry has been hiding behind the skirts of the friendly regulatory fraternity for decades now. Folks, this is the emperor has no clothes time. Okay. The industry, which is in bed with the regulatory bodies, have been using the regulatory bodies as cover to cheapen food, to cheat nutrition, to play Russian roulette with pathogenicity and toxicity. All of those things have been given cover. Look, who gave us hydrogenated vegetable oil? The FDA.
Right.
The government gave us hydrogenated vegetable oil. Who told us not to eat margarine? Who told us you shouldn't eat butter? It was the government.
And so for people that are like, but the government is there to protect us, what is your answer to that?
The government is there to concessionize and ensure the longevity and profitability of big ag. That's what the government's there for. At this point, everything starts sincerely, but the road to hell is paved with sincerity, right? With whatever, sincere expectations. So I'm not going to argue the sincerity of people. I think almost everyone, people that I disagree with, are sincere. Okay? I'm not going to argue that. But what we have to look at are results. You know, where are we? Where are we now? And where we are now is this completely dysfunctional, incentivized system for everything that's wrong. I mean, who gave us a food pyramid that put Fruit Loops and crackers on the foundation?
We now know that the food pyramid that I grew up with in the 90s was completely bought and paid for by different food groups.
Yes.
So when that food pyramid came out in the 90s, you're farming and doing things the lunatic farmer way.
Right.
When you saw that, did you know this is bull?
Oh, we knew it was wrong day one. I mean, just like when the government told us, I was taken to invited to free dinners by U.S. I call it U.S. To teach us this new way of feeding cows. We got this new way of feeding cows. Science all agrees we need to grind up dead cows and feed dead cows to cows. We can do it cheaper this way, you know. And so we were courted and romanced by the experts and the credentialed, you know, PhDs, post hole digger degrees, of how to feed cows, dead cows. 30 years later, we had bovine spongiform encephalopathy, known as mad cow. Now, I didn't buy, and I wasn't the only one. There were plenty of us, you know. I mean, not enough of us, obviously, but in the lunatic fringe, there were many of us who looked at that day one and said, wait a minute. Let's look around the planet. Where does an herbivore eat carrion?
Yeah. Can't
find it. It doesn't exist. Now, we didn't know that there would be mad cow. We just knew this
isn't natural.
No, this is an anti-ecological pattern, a template that we don't see anywhere in nature. Same with genetically modified organism, GMOs.
Do you trust GMOs?
Not at all. No, they're awful, okay? Because they create beings, they create life forms that everything in nature tries to make sure doesn't happen. Nature doesn't let a salmon cross with a tomato plant. You know, that would never happen. Listen, if you looked out in your garden and you saw a pig getting it on with a green bean plant, you'd say, whoa, something's wrong here, okay? Listen, if the sexual plumbing doesn't match up, something ain't right, okay? And GMO wades in to something as special, mysterious, and almost, you know, divine, like DNA and genetic and epigenetic structure, and says, this is just a machine. You know, we can just pull it. And that's the problem. Our culture has embraced a Greco-Roman, Western, reductionist, linear, compartmentalized, disconnected, mechanical view of the world. And essentially, like the movie Jurassic Park, remember when the journalist gets in the face of that scientist who's euphoric over, look what I've done. I've got these raptors. I've got, we did all this cool stuff. And the journalist gets in his face. He says, while the raptors are destroying the planet and they're getting ready to, take over the world. And the journalist says, but just because we can Should we?
You're right.
That's a powerful question.
But, they say there's no evidence that it has, wreaked any havoc on human health.
There is so much evidence that way. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, the mountain of evidence. We say, I'll believe it when I see it. That's not true. You'll see it when you believe it.
Mhm.
Because your heart is such a powerful subconscious paradigm, filter for what your eyes can see. I mean, my favorite example of that was when Chernobyl blew.
Right.
Chernobyl, the nuclear reactor, and Moscow is calling the control board. All right, the guys are in there, and the graphite core is falling. It's raining onto the lawn in front of the control panel. Moscow says, is everything okay? Yeah, everything's completely under control. It's just fine. Those guys believe so strongly in their crisis, mechanisms, their control mechanisms, that it could not even register with them. They could not see, they could not fathom that the thing could be, breaking up. And that's how powerful paradigms are.
Right.
And we see it every day.
Every day I get messages asking me what I've heard about clean diaper brands, what I think about this sunscreen. The simple answer is Just Ingredients. That's the website name. You may recognize Just Ingredients as Carlin Call's mega popular Instagram with over 1 million followers, where she breaks down the ingredients on everything from food to sunscreen. Her website, Just Ingredients, is broken down into categories from mattresses to baby food. She puts in this one spot all these different companies that are non-toxic, only using nourishing products made with real ingredients. It's like non-toxic Amazon. Just Ingredients is having their biggest sale of the year from July 10th through 12th. All products will be 20% off, and you can even lock in that pricing on subscriptions to celebrate all year long. Open your calendar right now on your phone, put July 10th through 12th, mark down Just Ingredients big sale. They're launching 8 new supplements to boost your health and fun new protein pancake and muffin mixes. This is the biggest sale of the year for the crunchy community. Huge name brands, 20% off. Shop the sale starting on July 10th at justingredients.us and use my code ALEX for free shipping on your entire order. That's justingredients.us and use my code ALEX for free shipping on your entire order. Find everything in the show notes. Just indulge me for 2 seconds. Open the cabinet in your bathroom. Look at the ingredients list of your tampons. If you see any of these words, titanium dioxide, rayon, fragrance, or even super absorbent material. Ooh, bet that got your attention, didn't it? Throw those out or give them to a shelter. The super absorbent material ingredient can lead to harboring and feeding the bacteria that leads to toxic shock syndrome. Now, while I'm a cyclic girly, that means while I have my period at this time in my life, and then, you go into menopause, but right now, I'm using Garnuu, okay? Garnuu is 100% organic cotton period products like liners, pads, overnight pads, and tampons. Fragrance-free, dye-free, none of the yucky stuff you don't want in your body. Go to Garnuu.com and use code ALEX for 15% off 100% organic cotton period products. That's Garnuu.com. Code ALEX gets you 15% off. As much as you hate government bureaucrats, you really hate complacent Americans. What are Americans complacent about when it comes to our food?
They're complacent about almost everything, but the complacency is essentially a lack of participation. Listen, we have been told now for decades, you don't need to worry about your food. You just watch the football game. You book your Caribbean cruise. You take the kiddos to soccer games, and we'll take care of you. We'll give you Lunchables, Hot Pockets, squeezable Velveeta cheese. We'll fix you TV dinners, okay? And you don't have to worry about this. You don't have to garden. You don't have to cook. You don't have to do anything. We'll take care of you. And boy, was the spring of 2020 a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Suddenly, there's empty store shelves. People are going nuts. People showed up at our farm. We had the food.
No way. Wait, did you have people really showing up here?
Oh, we sold 6 months. We sold half a year's worth of food in 6 weeks.
Were your minds blown?
Our minds were absolutely. I mean, we'd never seen anything like it.
This is the end of the world?
we thought it would be the beginning of our ship coming in. we were tickled, but we were in shock like everybody
So were
else.
people scared, like showing up here,
Yes.
like at all
Yes.
hours, or like what was it
Not
like?
at all hours, but during store hours. But I had many conversations with people. I have never thought about food. Never thought about food until now. And now I'm suddenly realized, ooh, I gotta think about food. Here's the point. The point is, for decades, Americans were told, you don't have to think about this, we'll take care of you. Suddenly 2020 came, and suddenly people realized, oh, wait a minute, maybe all of that non-thinking convenience that was supposed to give me freedom from domestic culinary arts, freedom from knowing my farmer, freedom from knowing my food chain, really was a shackle that shackled me to a nefarious agenda.
Yeah.
And suddenly, those of us, I mean, it wasn't a bobble for us. We've got hundreds of quarts of stuff canned in the basement. We've got freezers full of meat. We got stuff, it wasn't even a bobble for us. Okay. And we realized that freedom only comes when you participate. And if you don't participate, you don't get freedom.
During the pandemic, did you at all just think, let's just pop into the nearest Walmart. Let me just see like what it looks like in here. What is going on? Did you look?
Yeah, well, I don't do any grocery shopping, but Teresa does. And so, she was coming home. I mean, we don't buy meat or anything. We, toilet paper and
Sure, yeah.
things like that. And she came home and she was telling me about this stuff. She said, you got to go see this. You got to go. Because, I mean, we're not spring chickens and we've never seen it. So I finally, one evening we were in there. I said, let's swing by Kroger's and go in and see. I went and see, and I was, what's the word? Gobsmacked,
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, I'm looking at this meat counter and there's nothing.
Were you thinking the entire food supply chain has been completely decimated? Like, were you worried about that?
I wasn't worried. We got plenty of food.
But the thing is that we learned from, I had a rancher, AJ Richards, on, and he talked about farmers like you are the first people that are gonna be, they're gonna come after you and try to kill you for access to your food if the food supply chain was completely destroyed. Are you worried about that?
No, they won't be smart enough to get here. We're too far out. I mean, you know what you got to get through to get to us?
Yeah.
We got a mountain behind us, a river in front of us. We're on a dirt road. No, I mean, I don't want to be cavalier about this, but that doesn't concern me. But it's the complacency that's the problem. And so many people blame the farm, well, farmers shouldn't have factory. They should make better food. They shouldn't feed their animals antibiotics. They shouldn't, they. No. Farmers have always produced for the market, always. And if the market wants something different, farmers will do something different. I mean, we live in a time where people are saying, defund this, divest from this. It's time to defund Monsanto. It's time to defund Tyson. It's time to defund Cargill. The only reason they own the show is because people go there and buy. We have the great American smoke out, for cigarettes, like the one day, nobody smokes. We could have a one day American no fast food out.
Yeah.
And if we did that for 1 day, 2 days, the whole food system would come to its knees.
I love it.
It wouldn't take a law. It wouldn't take a federal agency. It wouldn't take anything. All it would take is a bunch of people saying, enough, and we're gonna change it. All of the new lingo. I mean, I grew up, I'm a lot older than you are. I grew up, there were so many words that we use today that we never heard growing up.
Obviously non-GMO, that didn't exist.
That didn't
GMOs
exist?
didn't exist.
No.
Organic, probably not.
No, it didn't exist. But I'm thinking of E. coli.
Oh, yeah.
Salmonella, listeria.
When we have an E. coli breakout, is that coming from farmers that are not using a ton of chemicals like you, or is it coming from big companies?
It always comes from big companies. It always comes because that's where, listen, if all you did was live in your toilet and breathe in fecal particulate all day, you're going to be immunocompromised.
And you're talking about what, the animals that are living in their own filth?
Yes, in a factory farm, in a concentrated animal feeding operation. I'm also talking about plants that are fumigated with, aerial chemicals and sprays and chemical fertilizers that don't feed the soil biology.
Because people are always freaking out about raw milk, but you are way more likely to get sick from a bagged salad than you are raw milk, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even meat, because salad doesn't have a kill point. It's kept chilled, damp, dark, and not cooked. So there's no kill step. Whereas at least meat, if you do it to temperature, there's a kill step for things like this. But what I'm getting at is that all this new lexicon that I've learned since I was 45, let's say, okay, E. coli, salmonella, we didn't know those words when we were kids. We didn't know avian influenza. We didn't know food allergy. If you wanted to have a birthday party for 3-year-olds, the moms didn't spend 48 hours before the party calling around, finding what they could serve. You just had a party.
Yeah. So how do you explain that? Why do we have that explosion?
What that is a lexicon of nature that has been disrespected, dishonored, violated, abused. I mean, we can think of all sorts of things, but completely disrespected, and it's on its knees. I'm talking about the pigs, the cows, the chickens, the tomato plants, the peppers. All right, it's nature. It's nature on its knees, begging us, screaming, enough.
And before the Industrial Revolution, did people say things like, "Oh, I have some dairy-related illness"?
No. There was none of this. Like I say.
So how? Because that was unclean farming and practices, and how we distributed food. It was all dirty, and now we've advanced. So how are people getting sick now if they weren't before?
Yeah, well, it's because
I'm being facetious.
Yeah, there are so many vulnerabilities, risk points within the food system.
Like what?
Now, in 1946, the average morsel of food that you ate today for dinner, the average morsel of food traveled no more than 40 miles. In 1946, that's not that long ago. Okay, now the average morsel of food travels 1,500 miles. So when you have that level of distance, warehousing, concentrated processing, I mean, back in those days, a big processing plant maybe would do 100 beef in a day. Okay. Today, they do 5,000 in a day.
Why is that bad? Because we're feeding more people.
We're talking about biology. Biology is not mechanics. And scale matters. Scale matters. So here's a great question back to you. I would ask, in the spring of 2020, if the U.S., instead of being fed by, say, a funnel of 300 mega processing facilities, had instead been fed by 300,000 community canneries, abattoirs, processors, would we have had as big a hiccup in the food system?
No.
Of course not.
Because people are all going to the same couple stores in each town
Absolutely.
to get all of their food.
Absolutely. So when you have that level of concentration, you have an aircraft carrier. And when you have societal dysfunction, we'll say rocky shoals on the beach, you don't want to be in an aircraft carrier. You want to be in a little speedboat, okay? A nimble little speedboat where you can navigate between the things. Here, we own a little federal inspected slaughterhouse up in Harrisonburg, or co-own it, and we didn't have a bobble. Nobody lost work. We were just cranking right along. Why? Well, because we didn't have 5,000 people reporting to work. But I can tell you, every company of any size in the food, well, all of them, but I'll stay with food, doubled their HR departments or tripled, and every CEO went to bed every night worried. Oh, I wonder if the employee in Sector 5 is going to sue me for not having enough plexiglass up between him and the guy. Those kinds of things. They were absolutely paralyzed by that. And of course, we know how many millions of chickens were thrown away, pigs thrown away. Why? Because the processors couldn't get to it. And so when you decentralize and you democratize market access, you create additional safety, stability, and security within the food system.
Okay, but how can you say that when we have huge food deserts in cities where, you have all these people that don't have access to a local farmer? So what would your answer be to that?
Oh, that's one of my favorite ones. Almost all urban areas, Detroit especially,
yeah,
and St. Louis now, have hundreds, thousands of acres of vacant lots and unused land.
That's true.
Just imagine you're a single mom, you've got 3 kids, and you're in the inner city, and you feel stuck. But next door is a vacant lot, okay? And there are thousands of them, all right? There's a vacant lot. You say, you know what? I could put a garden in there. I could have a few chickens and rabbits, and I could have a little farm in that lot. And I could make chicken pot pies for my area.
I had
Okay.
a Polyface chicken pot pie today at some restaurant in town. It was awesome.
Yeah, they are first class. So you plant your garden, you get some chickens, you get some rabbit, you start your little farm, and your 3 kids are happy to help, da da da. And so comes time to finally you got enough, peas and carrots and green beans, whatever, and the chickens are grown. You can process those and you take them up to your apartment and you make some pot pies. And you walk down the hall and you sell them. Within 24 hours, 8 bureaucrats are going to be knocking on your door. Where's your business license? Where's your HACCP plan, hazardous analysis critical control point? Where's your food inspection service? Do you have a separate toilet to use for your culinary business? Do you have a fire extinguisher on the wall? Do you is your electrical up to business code? Are the rafters of the building of a commercial nature or just residential? Because they've got to be stronger for a commercial than a resident. It doesn't end. Okay, it goes and goes. And guess what? You're now out of business.
Right. So there has to be a reason why they do that to keep us going to the big grocery stores instead, right?
No. See, that's where I disagree with the conservatives.
Okay.
I don't think there's a conspiratorial thing.
Okay.
I actually believe they think we're too stupid to make our own decisions. And so I have to protect you from your stupidity. You don't know how to make safe food. You don't know how to not overrun your breaker, your switch, your electrical system. You don't know how to clean a toilet. The industry is working at the lowest common denominator of employee, of information, of ethics. And as a result, their world, their whole paradigm is industrial business that is always cutting corners. That's the world they live in. Okay? And they assume that you, as a single mom with 3 kids, and you're wanting to do something in your community, help your community, they think that you think just like the CEO of an industrial company that's all about how do we sell less and get more? How do we satisfy our stakeholder, our stockholders? How do we, right? And make sure that we have our Philadelphia attorneys on retainer so they protect us from somebody that's upset. But I don't think that way. I love my customers. I mean, there are business books out, how corporations hate their customers.
Yeah.
I mean, all you got to do is call an airline and try to change a ticket and you'll think they must hate me. Here, somebody calls, we answer the phone.
Do you struggle with your skin no matter what you do? Experience heavy bleeding and clots, frequently miss periods, or have PMS so bad that it causes strife within your personal relationships? Hormones might be out of whack, sis. Your body may need a little extra help, and certain herbal and animal-based ingredients that can really help with that. This is why I take Birthright's animal-based, organic, and regenerative hormone support supplement daily. It's called Revive, and you can get it at birthright.co. Instead of 60 different supplements on your counter, which there's nothing wrong with that, it's just that some people want to simplify things. Why not just start with one? Birthright's Revive is made in the USA and sourced from organic regenerative farms only, with no fillers or additives. Ingredients are grass-fed beef liver and kidney, bee pollen, spirulina, dandelion, milk thistle. Even the herbs are from organic farms. Raspberry leaf, magnesium, and vitamin E. Birthright is the only animal-based and regenerative prenatal on the market, and their hormonal support, called Revive, is great for anyone not in pregnancy mode. Go to birthright.co and use code Alex for 15% off. That's birthright.co and use code Alex for 15% off. All codes are in the episode description for any time you want them. Struggling with cellulite? Might be the seed oils, babe. Seed oils found in ultra-processed food or often used in restaurants to cook with accumulate in the body and cause inflammation due to excess omega-6 consumption. Cook with beef tallow, lard, butter, coconut, olive oil, or ghee instead. And don't buy snacks with industrial oils. If you still need a little salty crunch in your life, and I mean, like, doesn't everybody? I mean, I certainly do. I have been alerting the masses for years now about MASA beef tallow organic corn tortilla chips with real salt. I love these chips so much. I interviewed the creator, Really Tan Man, like a year or so ago. And just like Joel Salatin, this company is on a mission to change our food and therefore change the world. We're working together for that same mission. Me, Joel, Really Tan Man, the owner of MASA Chips. And that means a lot of new companies starting out and using only real ingredients sadly have to charge a little bit more money. And that's why MASA wants to give you 20% off your first order when you use code RealAlexClark. Go to masachips.com and use code RealAlexClark for 20% off. That's masachips.com with code RealAlexClark for 20% off your first order. Find the link below. Don't you love it when a strange man insists on exchanging numbers to network or just be friends, and then before you can answer, just hands you their phone? I mean, a complete stranger in public for you to type your number in. Happened to me after I had to go to the tire shop for a flat tire last night. And no, he wasn't cute. He was like my dad's age. And look, people are like, are you sure you're not just being picky? I'm not being picky. Trust me. Anyways, I was thinking, please get me out of here. I have my Nimi nighttime routine to get to. My skincare life hack is going straight to the bathroom when you get home, washing your makeup off, and then doing your nighttime skincare routine first thing so that you can't use the I'm too tired excuse to do it later. It's genius, I'm telling you. Nimi just released their all-new completely clean skincare line that I got to consult on. No questionable ingredients, only the best. Nimi is openly America first and Christian owned. I personally prefer everything I use and buy to be America and God first if I can help it, don't you? Big fan of their new Pure Punch Protein Cleanser. This nourishing, milky cleanser combines kale, carrot, and lemon amino acids to fortify the skin's barrier and combat free radical damage. Go to NimiSkincare.com and use code AlexClark for 10% off. That's NimiSkincare.com with code AlexClark for 10% off. Check the show notes for link. One interesting thing, I got to tour your farm today, which was so cool. And you actually told this huge group of people, you can come tour my farm anytime, day or night. Don't wake me up. But you can poke around. You can have a little flashlight.
That's
I
right.
have nothing to hide. How many farmers would allow people to do that?
Not very many.
Why?
Because there is a complete breakdown of trust between farmers and food buyers. Farmers think food buyers don't respect them. They're always trying to get it cheaper. They don't understand. I got to go out in the rain and okay, you got the farmers thing. All right. And the city person, that guy's got 500 acres. Look at all that wealth. I mean, so they've got this incredibly misperception, jaundiced view of the farmer. The farmer has a completely antagonistic view of the urban buyer. They don't respect me. They don't trust me. They passed the EPA. The EPA is coming out here to tell me I got to get my cows out of the water. Right?
Right.
Okay. And so you have this extremely antagonistic view. Whereas on our farm, we have a relationship view. And we view our even very ignorant urban folks as cheerleaders. They're rooting for us. And so how can we make their lives better? How can we make them healthier? How can we make sure they never get sick? 50% of all cases of diarrhea in the US right now, 50% of all cases are foodborne bacteria pathogens. 50%. You know, what's a case of diarrhea? I don't know, we'll go there. But if all those half the cases of diarrhea were actually recorded or paid for at the cash register, stuff wouldn't be so cheap. Okay. But anyway, we're actually thinking about that. We're actually thinking, how do we make sure that our people are healthy and have enough, and we see them as our friends, not our enemies. And so that's a pretty big kind of, emotional persona difference in the way we view and I would suggest small businesses generally view their customers that way, because we're out here, we don't get coverage in the Wall Street Journal. We don't get, we can't buy Super Bowl ads to tell our story. I mean, they're too expensive.
So if somebody were to do what you invite the public to do to you, poke around, see what you can find,
Sure.
I don't care.
Mhm.
If they were to do that same thing to their favorite farm, and I'm saying that in quotes, making their favorite breakfast sausage links or frozen hamburger patties, what is the type of stuff at these farms that consumers would find? Because we don't see our food being made. A lot of us don't think about it.
So the first thing they would notice is they'd have to put a clothespin on their nose because it stinks.
That was something I was going to tell you. The first thing I noticed touring your farm today, and this has never happened to me being on a farm in my life, it didn't smell like a farm.
Yeah.
Why?
Because
I was blown away.
Because everything is hygienic because we move the animals around. They're not in one place. You didn't see moonscapes. You didn't see, palls of fecal particulate. The movement is what creates the cleanliness.
So
the
a
sanitation.
stinky farm is actually a red flag?
If a farm is not aesthetically and aromatically, sensually romantic, it's a bad farm.
Okay.
So if you go visit with your kiddos and they're saying, "Ooh, mommy, this thing stinks," or "Ooh, that's ugly," or whatever, it should be beautiful. It should smell great. Those are benchmarks. Now, when Michael Pollan wrote Omnivore's Dilemma, he noted that if all of our concentrated animal feeding operations, factory farms, had glass walls, that would fundamentally change food in America. And he's exactly right. You don't have to be a rocket scientist for your senses to speak to you that way.
For a conservative who, they always say we think with our brains, not our heart. And maybe it's hard for them to be like all like lovey-dovey about like, oh, the animals are being kind of mistreated, like whatever, they're animals, we eat them. I mean, what else would you tell them about the way these factory farms are run that should shake them? Maybe it's the quality of the food, for example.
Right. Does the habitat respect and honor the physiological distinctiveness of the animal or plant? In other words, the pigness of the pig, the chickenness of the chicken, the tomato-ness of the tomato, okay? And think about that animal, all of its social, physiological, emotional desires. Would you want to live that way? One of my favorite little interchanges, we had a new chef in a restaurant, a customer, and he was 28, 29. He was young, and but just a gung-ho guy. He said, "I want to come out. Can I come out and visit?" I said, "Absolutely, come on." So I took him up to see he was using a lot of pork in the restaurant. I said, "You want to see the pigs?" "Yeah, I want to see the pigs." So we go up there to the pigs, and he's standing there looking at these pigs. They're out in this pasture paddock, and they're, of course, happy as can be. They're eating some grass and they're rubbing on the tree and different things. And he just stands there kind of mesmerized for a little bit. And he said, "I've cooked a lot of pork and I've broken down a lot of carcasses, but I've never seen a live pig in my life. Never seen one." He said, "But I just have this thing. I think if I was a pig, I'd want to live like this." And that says it all.
Okay.
That says it all. If you go visit and you get this sense, I don't think I'd like to live like that. But basically what you saw was contentment. Everything was contented.
Now, there are some rabbits in cages.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah. So those rabbits, the thing about rabbits is they're extremely prone to coccidiosis. And if you think about rabbits in the wild, they're way spread out. You don't see 10 rabbits together. You see 2 at the most. When you start raising rabbits, you got to be really, really careful about sanitation as they become proximate. And so I am the first to admit that the rabbits are the closest we come to whatever, to pushing the envelope. But
for
those
like regenerative standards?
Well, just to allowing the rabbit to fully express its rabbitness. Okay. But those rabbits, that was Daniel, our son. That was his entrance into farming. He was 8. He wanted to raise something himself. So he's had the rabbits, for now, 34 years. And so I don't apologize for him having an opportunity as an entrepreneur to start into that.
But I mean, that was years ago because he's an adult.
It's a long time ago. We are very quick to admit that the rabbits push the envelope, even for us. but they provided, they were Daniel's first entrepreneurial endeavor.
Right.
And created and interested him in the farm. You could argue, well, maybe rabbits shouldn't even be raised commercially like this.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue that. And I wouldn't die on that hill. All I know is people eat rabbits. Most of the rabbits are raised terribly. These rabbits have been genetically selected by Daniel for forage base. So they eat a lot of forage. Most commercial rabbitries never feed any forage to their rabbits.
When it comes to big food, what does the left get wrong? But then what does the right get wrong? The political left and right.
Well, what the left gets wrong is thinking that the only way to have safe food is if a bureaucrat puts a stamp of approval on it. The problem with the conservatives is that they essentially believe that big business is the same as small business, so they're quick to trust big business. But as we move into a fascist state, and I'm saying that judiciously, where you have, how many times have you heard public-private partnerships? Let me tell you, when you have public-private partnerships, guess who wins? The big guys. Guess who loses? The little guys. And so I'm not a fan of public-private. That sounds like fascism to me. That's where you have government, controlled business.
I would agree that conservatives a few decades ago definitely sucked up to big business. We were absolutely fawning over, protecting corporations and all this. But I do feel like in the last 8 or so years, we have shifted. Now I feel like it's more the left that is obsessed with big business, and they also run everything. Apple, Amazon, all of these big things. And now I feel like it's the conservatives who are fighting back against big tech and all these huge corporations.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. So what conservatives need to do is they need a a shot of emotional empowerment to realize how important they are.
Yeah.
If conservatives quit going to McDonald's, if conservatives quit buying, Tyson chicken already breaded with a pop-up thermometer in it, the margins are so tiny in the industrial system, a shift of 5% would bring the food system to its knees.
Don't you think that in the last couple years, the organic, crunchy community has seen an explosion amongst conservatives?
Yes, no question.
And it was historically more of a liberal group, I think, that cared about that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. So what we've seen are the shifts. So in the 60s, let's take homeschooling. Let's start with homeschooling. In the 60s and 70s, if I said I was a homeschooler, I was a liberal.
Yes.
Because I was a hippie, beaded, bearded, braless. I didn't want the kids to hear the devotional prayer over the PA school system. I didn't want them to recite the Pledge. I didn't want them to have that institutional regimentation. Come 1990s, late 1990s, with Homeschool Legal Defense Fund and that sort of thing. Today, if I say I'm a homeschooler, 95% chance I'm a conservative.
Yes.
And so what happened was when the 10 Commandments came down, prayer went out of the school, and we started seeing this attack on, and then you've got, of course, the sexual revolution, the drugs, all that stuff. The conservative mama woke up, okay, and said, whoa, this is not what we signed up for. This is not the school I went to. The same thing has happened now with the homestead movement. In the 70s, it was all the back to the land, Mother Earth News. It was a very liberal movement, Gaia, creation worship, all that. If you were a homesteader in 1970, you were a liberal. You wore a peace sign, right, okay? Come to today, I'm a homesteader, 95% chance you go to church, you homeschool your kids, and you recite the Pledge of Allegiance and you love America.
Why that shift? What is responsible for that?
I think, conservatives are slower to change. I think generally conservatives, look, we just go about our day.
Yeah.
We go about our work.
Liberals are the artists, right?
Yeah,
So they're creating the trends.
Activists.
Yes, they're creating the trends.
They're the ones that get frustrated faster. They're the ones that actually see through, the CIA, the war machine, the that sort of thing.
They used to. Now they love it.
Yeah, I know that was the biggest thing for the most frustrating thing for me in 2020 was how all my organic friends crucified me for being opposed to Fauci.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, what is it with you people? You have been mavericks. You've been opposed to the government. You've been opposed to the defense budget. You've been opposed to the USDA. You've been opposed to chemicals. Everything that the pharmaceuticals, you've said the pharmaceutical people are bad, all this. And suddenly Fauci steps up and you're bowing.
What was their reasoning? What was their defense for why they agreed with that, but none of these other things historically?
I think they were driven by fear. I think they are living under a delusional segregation. Like a lot of people. Who doesn't want to have healthy kids? Who don't want to have happy families? Who doesn't want to have thriving communities? Who doesn't want to have a sound dollar? We all agree on that. What we disagree on is how to get there.
Right.
And I think the fundamental difference between the liberal and conservative is the liberal does not have an appreciation for the evil, sinfulness, whatever, of government. Somehow they think that government is purer, more righteous than the average person, when actually the government's usually way worse than the average person. The conservative thinks the average person is much better than the government, and so they're more prone to say, well, my neighbor factory farmer, he's a good guy.
Yes.
And he's a good guy. And so, I'm sure he wouldn't do anything that would hurt the land or he loves his farm. He loves the soil. He likes worms,
Yeah.
And so they're very dismissive of the concerns that a liberal would bring up.
I think you nailed that. So here's an interesting question, kind of a drug dealer versus addict situation, but when it comes to our food, are we poisoning ourselves or is the government poisoning us?
Oh, we're poisoning ourselves. The government doesn't make you eat anything. Government doesn't tell me what to eat. So we need to get off of this victim kick. Look, if you're diseased, sick, whatever, there's a reason for that. And it's not because there are little, fairies out here. Oh, I think I'm going to pick on John today. Well, I think I'm going to pick on me. No. I mean, at church, it fries me. You get up prayer time, and everybody's, pray for this, pray for this. You go home and you open up the refrigerator and it's full of Hot Pockets, Lunchables, Coca-Cola, Sprite, and Velveeta cheese. And you're saying, whoa, no wonder you're sick. Okay. This is a no-brainer. All right. And we should be connecting those dots. We should be you wouldn't put junk fuel in your car, but we put junk fuel in our bodies and think, okay, the doctor's going to take care of me. We have to take personal responsibility for where we are. And this is what frustrates me about conservatives is that if anybody wants to preserve personal freedom, autonomy, and personal responsibility, it should be the conservatives. Mm-hmm. One of the things that's interesting in our culture right now is as the government has taken over healthcare, the philosophy of that is that I own, or society owns you, owns me. In other words, my body is an asset or a liability to society, which is paying to cure my ills. As soon as we posit government financial intervention in our healthcare, we create this tangled web of justified societal interest in how you treat your body. So now you have to wear a motorcycle helmet. You have to put on a seatbelt. You have to have your child in a certain, child restraint seat. And look, I don't want brain injuries and I don't want, all right, but as soon as you head down that society is responsible for your health, guess what? I have an economic incentive to make sure that you don't ingest or do something that I would consider injurious.
Yeah.
And so raw milk, uninspected chicken, unvaccinated cows, I mean, you can go down the list. And so prohibition, which was led by conservatives, okay, did our country a huge disfavor because it posited for the culture, the government has a right to tell me what to eat and drink.
I have some questions for you on this because this is so interesting. You're a libertarian who is against big food, and I'm a conservative who's against big food. My thing is, there are processed food ingredients that we know cause cancer, that we know are irritating kids that have autism and ADHD. We know that it is straight up poison. It's not food. Are you then against, as a libertarian, saying to these food companies, you are not allowed to put these ingredients in food?
Yes, I am against
Why?
that. Here's why. How do you create a person who's responsible? You create a person who's responsible by making them liable for their decisions. You're raising a child. How do you create discernment? How do you create in a person the ability to make wise decisions?
Right, but Joel, we've been doing that for 50 years. We're sicker,
No,
fatter.
no, we haven't. We have had government incentivizing hybrid corn, chemical fertilizer, DDT, name it, GMOs. The government, look, since Abraham Lincoln, okay, worst president in the country, Abraham Lincoln gave us the USDA because he didn't think farmers were smart enough to make their decisions. And the second Abraham Lincoln started the USDA, this started a government agenda, an intervention into the system, okay? And as soon as you have that, what you have now are a bunch of stupid farmers who just do whatever the government says. The way you create duplicitous people is by taking away decision-making responsibility.
But what I'm saying is, don't we have evidence that there are people that are
Yes.
just incapable of making these good decisions? Because the thing is
No.
that the sicker this generation gets, who's paying for them as they get old? You won't be here, I will, and I'm going to have to be dealing with all these sick people.
In my world, we wouldn't have any government involvement in healthcare either.
Right.
None, okay? Now think about this. If there is no safety net, if there is no safety net, if I have a mental breakdown, if I have a physical breakdown, if there's no safety net, guess who's going to start being careful about how I live? I am, okay?
Yeah.
Because there's no safety net, all right? And so you can't have a deregulation on one hand, but have intervention on the other. So anybody that knows me knows that I'm for legalization of all drugs, fentanyl, cocaine, name it, all right? But there's also no safety net. You want to go commit suicide? Commit suicide. Jump off the bridge, okay with me? It reduces the gene pool. I mean, we call out the junk. But the thing is, there is no perfect system this side of eternity. We're always choosing between what's the lesser of evils. We're humans. We're not inherently good. I mean, that's my faith. I don't believe that we are inherently good.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
Okay, all right. In my view, if you say that the propensity of humanity is toward evil, toward greed, toward selfishness, okay, let's assume that. Then the only question is, do we spread it out among everybody's decisions, or do we concentrate it over here in the government? That's the only question.
I love it. One of my favorite parts of visiting Polyface Farm was the farm store there. Mostly stuff in there from Joel's farm, but also some other curated items from brands and clean food companies that he trusts. Well, I don't have a store, at least yet, but I do have a podcast, and I really do my best to curate a little store right here for you of brands that I trust, especially food brands. And Squeeze Juice is one of them. Squeeze Juice is the name of the juice, bottled on a small family farm in California. 100% juice, no added sugar, no water, strange acids or syrups, no artificial dyes, and no GMOs. I love their 7-ounce self-serve bottles, perfect for kids or Alex Clark. Same. But there are 32 fluid ounce ones also if you want the big hunker. And the green cucumber lemonade has 4 ingredients: pomegranate, lemon, cucumber, and spinach. It's that simple with Squeeze Juice. Antioxidant lemonades at the pool or park this summer. take a sip. Shop.squeezejuice.com. Use code Alex for 25% off. That's shop.squeezedjuice.com with code Alex for 25% off. It is squeezed fresh, it is shipped cold, and it goes straight to you. Link in the show notes. We're under attack spiritually, physically, and emotionally. You can't get complacent, and you must be diligent. As you learn more this episode about what goes in your body, make sure not to neglect what is around your body as much as you can. Chemicals in your environment that are being absorbed through skin and the air around you are just as important. Aleavia prebiotic organic non-toxic body wash is the only body wash I will use. I bring it everywhere. In hotels, I'll use it in place of hand soap. At home, I have the literal Aleavia hand soap. Went through a period of trying all the body washes at Whole Foods, okay? They were awful. They didn't spread well. One burned my bottom. Don't ask. Or they just simply weren't as non-toxic as I would like. Aleavia changed everything with their prebiotic body wash that feeds the skin's microbiome. Only a handful of ingredients from land and sea in every bottle that's safe for everyone from 8 weeks to 80. Go to Aleavia.com, use code Alex15 for 15% off. Aleavia.com, use code Alex15 for 15% off my favorite organic prebiotic body wash. Want to talk about secondhand embarrassment? Imagine hosting a 4th of July party next week and grilling a bunch of meat from God knows what country. If you wait last minute and you don't plan out your meat, you're going to end up with grocery store meat. And guess what? I don't know where the heck that meat is coming from, but almost none of it is coming from the USA. You're like, what do you mean, Alex? The package says made in the USA. They can put that label on it thanks to our corrupt food laws, saying that it was made in the USA when all they did was ship it in from somewhere else, pumped with who knows what hormones and chemicals. And then if it was put in a package in the United States, well, then it's made in the USA. This is what Joel is talking about. This is what Congressman Thomas Massie talks about. This stuff is garbage. Here's the deal. Don't trust anything in the grocery store, and do not plan out what you're going to be grilling next week for the 4th of July or just this summer period without going to Good Ranchers. No mystery meat on America's birthday, please and thanks. Place your 4th of July grill and box order from Good Ranchers, and for a limited time, you will get $100 off your box and free brats for a year. That's $100 off your order and free brats for an entire year at goodranchers.com with code Clark. Good Ranchers is proudly America First and sources meat from small farmers and ranchers in the Midwest. Their beef is grass-fed, grain-finished. Chicken is better than organic, raised like Joel does. No antibiotics, no added hormones. Good Ranchers will be giving proceeds, by the way, from every box to paralyzed veterans of America. Grill with purpose this Independence Day. Support our vets and your tummy. GoodRanchers.com with code Clark for $100 off and free brats for a year. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered. What did you think about the illegal immigrants being housed in New York City complaining about the food that we're giving them? They said, this is disgusting. This is poison slop that you're feeding us.
Yeah. Yeah. Every time I travel or meet somebody from a foreign country, I mean, I just had a guy from Romania here the other day. The single most common first complaint they have about America is, I can't find decent food.
Yeah.
The Olympics are coming up, okay? This summer, we got the Olympics. And if you're a red-blooded American and if you love this country at all, you want to have the best basketball team. You want to have the best, we want Simone Biles to go win the gold medal again in gymnastics, all right? We're pulling, we love that as Americans. I get chill by, okay, I want to have the best. There's a place that America is number one that is not a place that you want to be number one. We are number one in the world in non-infectious chronic morbidity.
Yes.
Number one, not number two. Think about the starving kids in Senegal. Think about the people living on the beach when the typhoon hits Bangladesh. Take the poorest, toughest situation in the world. We're number one. Non-infectious disease. Why? Well, we invented hydrogenated vegetable oil. We invented high fructose corn syrup. We invented monosodium glutamate. In 1940, the U.S. used 1 million pounds of monosodium glutamate. Today, we're 300 million pounds. Okay? It's a known carcinogen. It's all sorts of things. Okay? We invented McDonald's. All right, you go down the line. All right? We invented all these things. GMOs. Okay? DDT. Agent Orange, okay?
Yeah.
We invented these things. There is a reason why we are number one in the world. That is not a place that you want to be. And so a thinking person would say, well, man, I don't want to be number one in non-infectious disease, morbidity. What can we do to change it? And I mean, it's not just food; it's lifestyle, it's other things. Okay, I was just in Hungary and Austria, and I talked to a guy from North Korea. He just spent 20 years. He was a vet, and he goes into North Korea for 20 years, like a month at a time, to help North Korea. And he said, "You would not believe how strong the family is in North Korea. Why? Because they don't have Medicare, they don't have Medicaid, they don't have nursing homes, they don't have health care. The only thing they got is family." Well, here, you know, parents don't even know their kids are taking fentanyl. The average middle schooler is on screen time 7 to 10 hours a day. The average American male between 25 and 35 is spending 20 hours a week playing video games. Males, 25 to 35, most virile time of a male's life, playing 20 hours a week of video games. We are disintegrating. We're disintegrating as a culture. I love this country, but but we're going the way of all other empires. 25 empires in the past, 25 civilizations. Every one of them has gone the very path. High taxes, high regulations, bureaucracy, a breakdown of moral codes, breakdown of the family, and breakdown of the food.
You said something really interesting back in 2006. You were predicting where we were going to be as a country in the future, and you were saying that we were complacent, we didn't care where our food came from, and that we were becoming so digitalized that we were never moving. And so the combination of never moving and then eating this poison food, that we would be so sick and that we would be exposed to new diseases, and we would be the weakest that we've ever been in order to fight them.
How many people have an some sort of something, immunodeficiency? Almost everybody knows somebody. And again, immunological dysfunction. We never heard anything like that when I was a kid. Nobody had an immunological problem. Nobody was allergic to gluten. Nobody, nobody, all this stuff. Listen, you cannot abuse and disrespect nature as profoundly as we have, or abdicate your responsibility to steward it as profoundly as we have, and have authentic life.
Is organic a scam?
Yeah, I think in general.
So when we go to Whole Foods and we pick up something that says USDA organic or whatever, it may not even really be?
It doesn't speak to many of the nuances.
Okay, like what? What are the nuances?
Okay, let's say you're going to grow organic carrots. All right. So that means you can't use herbicides. So you got weeds. All right. So you could mulch. You could cultivate tillage, which destroys earthworms. You could hand weed. You could use a flamethrower. You could use an organic oil emulsifier, an organic herbicide, if you will. All right, so that's just weeds. Let's talk about fertilizer. You can keep them fertile by bringing in carbon. You could make your own compost. You could buy fish emulsion from Japanese drag nets to spray fish emulsion. You see where I'm going with this? There are a tremendous number of nuances that you or I might, if we saw, really, you can do, 95% of the organic certified chicken in America is raised in a confinement house.
Okay, so if you are somebody who is like, I have zero options, the only place I can get a carrot is at the store, and their choice is non-organic or organic, what would you choose?
That's not your only choice.
Okay.
You've got tons of choices. You've got local farms, and we now have more local farms, more local options we've ever had. Farmers markets. I mean, the
farmers market. Top three questions you should ask a farmer to make sure it's actually organic.
Well, number one, ask him if you can come for a visit. If he hauls around, he's not your guy or gal. Okay. So they've got to be transparent. They got to be open to the public. They've got to say, yes, we'd love for you to come. Just tell me when, and we're going to come. So number one, ask for a visit. Number two, what do you use for fertility? I want to hear the word compost somewhere. And what's the ingredients of it? Where'd you get the compost? What's the provenance of the compost? And then number three, do you integrate animals and plants together? or are you just plants, no animals? Because animals are kind of everywhere, or they should be, and of some, some ilk. So those are just a couple of things that you could ask. But I've always said when organic certification first came in, I was a president of the Virginia Biological Farmers Association, which was the first certifying agency in Virginia. I was very, very opposed to it because I just didn't want the government. I mean, I said, look, we've been saying the government, you can't trust the government forever. I mean, all of us that were in this movement, can't trust the government, can't trust the USDA, and now we're asking them to police us.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, it's like the fox guarding the hen house. And I said at the time, what we need to certify is the magazine rack by the toilet. Because what we're really trying to certify is a worldview, a mindset. What do you think? What's your value system? It's not, have you checked some boxes? It's what do you believe? What do you think? And you can find that in the magazine rack next to the toilet.
Yeah.
All right. And so that's kind of where I was. But instead it came to be this, this bean counter thing and a check boxes. And yeah, I mean, now we're the only country in the world right now. We're the only one in the country in the world that certifies organic hydroponic vegetables.
What's that mean?
That means they're grown without any soil.
Is that good for a vegetable?
No, a terrestrial plant needs soil to get the full panoply of microbes and bacteria and enzymes, all the stuff that needs to go into the plant. And so this is basically IV plants.
Yeah, we look crazy.
We look crazy.
When people say, all this like regenerative farming stuff is so great, but you'll never be able to feed the world, people will starve if we were to transition all American farms to this way, what's your response?
Oh, that's one of my favorite. And it's one of the most common questions I get. Because ultimately, if this can't feed the world, then what are we talking about? All right. And so the first thing you got to understand is that 500 years ago, the U.S. produced more food. I mean, North America produced more food 500 years ago than it does today. That's the first thing to realize. Okay. Now, it wasn't all eaten by people. There were, a couple million bison. There were 2 million wolves that needed 20 pounds of meat a day. There were, flocks of birds so big it blocked out the sun for 3 days. There were 200 million beavers that ate more vegetables than all the humans in North America. So, it wasn't all eaten by humans, but the fact is there was more food produced in North America 500 years ago than is produced here today. So who's kidding who?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And even with all of our hybrids and green and all this stuff here, that whole idea was advanced by the chemical industry to disparage the non-chemical. Because listen, a lot of money is made on the back of farmers. Farmers spend a lot of money on equipment and chemicals and things they don't need. Antibiotics. I mean, way more antibiotics go into animals than go into people. So think about all the antibiotics that go into people. Animals is twice as much. Okay. So who's been drugging your dinner? That's the kind of thing. So, and that's where we got MRSA and C. diff and superbugs, in the hospitals. The fact is, if we had had a Manhattan Project for compost, not only would we have fed the world, we would have done it without 3-legged salamanders, infertile frogs, and a dead zone the size of Rhode Island in the Gulf of Mexico.
So I have kind of a spicy question.
Uh-oh.
Are the farmers who refuse to stop taking government subsidies cowards?
I mean, I've been between a rock and a hard place too sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I'm quick to not demonize people with whom I disagree with. They have their expectations, their dreams, their hopes, their perceptions that are as real to them as mine are to me. And I have a whole different set of life experience and perceptions and things, observations, beliefs that I've come to. And everybody comes at their own time, at their own rate. And so I don't think that the farmers who I would disagree with are evil people. I think they're caught up in an evil system.
So how would you explain to a fifth grader, for example, what government food subsidies are and how they impact our food system?
Well, some of it depends on what the fifth grader knows or believes. But I would say, I mean, a quick way today would be, do you trust Fauci? And if he says yes, then we probably don't have much more to talk about. If he says no, which a lot of fifth graders would say now, I would say, well, do you want him choosing the food you eat? He didn't make a good decision before. And Fauci and friends, if you will, Fauci and friends, I mean, they all went to the same school. They all drank the same Kool-Aid, okay? And so having the government, having the USDA in charge of our foods, like having the CDC in charge of our health. It's the same monster. It's the same thing, okay? And so I would simply start there. And if he says, no, I don't want Fauci in charge of my food, well, why would you want his buddies in charge of your food system?
How do government subsidies control our food system? Like, what are they paying farmers to do and why?
Well, the main thing is they pick six commodities: corn, soybeans, wheat, sugarcane, rice, and cotton. Six commodities. And that now they don't call them subsidies anymore. They call them crop insurance. That sounds way better.
Okay. Like how we don't say the homeless, we say the unhoused.
Yes, exactly. It sounds so much better to say crop insurance than subsidies. But what that does is it picks winners. It picks 6 things, and suddenly those are both incentivized to be grown um, more than we need. And number 2, it creates a price prejudice against all the other things that you could grow. Okay. And so that's the thing. Another huge subsidy is the land grant universities.
What's that?
That's all the Cal colleges, Virginia Tech, Penn State, Georgia Tech. Okay. The land grant universities, the 1890 land grant, I think 1890. Anyway, this was all.
Oh, so they're creating the schools so they can indoctrinate these farmers to farm the way that they want.
Yeah. So the government pays. Listen, you won't ever see down at Virginia Tech during graduation, all the ag majors, you won't see a beautiful big portable hospitality trailer from a compost company parked there. You see Monsanto, Cargill, all lined up. And so it's it's a scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And so these big companies ask for USDA to support the land grant universities, and and then they get all this free research money. I mean, good night. For years, we've had all sorts of answers to things that we hear the government on. You got to give antibiotic for pink eye. And so I raised a bit of a stink, and the animal PhD animal science comes up to visit me. And we walk around, and I was telling him about kelp, about seaweed as a mineral supplement, eliminates pink eye. And he looks at what we're doing. He says, "Yeah, I think you probably got something here." I said, "Well, on your radio broadcast then next week, why don't you say, hey, I met, some farmers are saying they get benefits from kelp, and it might be something." I can't say anything unless there's a double-blind study. I said, "Well, how do we get a double-blind study?" He says, "How much money will you give me?"
Yeah. Wow.
Well, I'm not giving him money, but Merck is giving him money. Pfizer's giving him money.
For the farmers who have been farming subsidy crops, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but for them who this has been their whole family for decades and decades and decades, this is how they farmed, but they're hearing people like you, and they're seeing the consumer really looking for organic, regenerative food. And they're like, maybe I could transition. I mean, are they truly stuck, or is it actually possible for them to switch over?
Oh, it's absolutely possible to switch over. The biggest climate we need to change is the climate of the mind. That's where we need to start changing it. And so I know many, goodness, I helped a family in North Carolina that had 4 turkey houses, big confinement turkey houses. They transitioned to pastured poultry. Took them about 2 or 3 years, but boy, they did it, and they are flying.
Awesome.
Canceled their contracts. The houses are, in fact, I was down there. I did a consult day with them on their farm. And one of the most interesting sessions was we're sitting around the table, dad, son, daughter-in-law, me. Okay. And we're brainstorming, what can you do with an empty confinement turkey house? These things are as big as a football field. It was everything from an indoor moped, like dirt bike track to, to massive children's treasure hunts to, just imagining all these things. and they've done well. So yes, there are people. I will tell you though that that the impediment is primarily attitudinal. You know, a belief that you can. You know, people don't break out of prison if they don't think they can escape. So first you have to think you can escape. That's the hardest part. Do you think you can escape? If you get to that point, then hey, let's look at how to get out of here. You know, then you start looking at routes. And of course, there are things that make it worse. Like if you're heavily in debt, the higher you are in debt, the harder it is to break out. So a lot of these people would do well to, for example, if they're heavily in debt, to sell a quarter of their farm or whatever it takes to get out of debt. That gives you the economic freedom now to do some other things with the other part of the farm. And I always tell people, start with something small, do a prototype, because first is attitudinal. Can I break out? The second then now is you need self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And the self-confidence comes from a successful experiment. So think of something that you can do that's really small and try it. And if it works, then you'll build confidence and you go down the path that way. Absolutely. People are breaking out, you know, all the time.
You say that we need the food equivalent of the NRA. Could you elaborate on that?
We all know what the NRA is, National Rifle Association. And people don't realize how little food choice they have. They don't. They go to Costco, Walmart, they see all those shelves full of bright, shiny, you know, labels. Well, what do you mean we don't have food choice? Well, have you ever tried to buy a homemade bologna from an artisanal food crafter at church that does it on the side as a hobby and say, you know, I'd like to buy some? Oh, no, I can't sell it. You know, it's illegal. There are thousands of things that we could get from friends, neighbors, acquaintances that are being done as hobbies, as little cottage industry, as little, you know, fun stuff to do, but they're illegal to sell.
Right.
The moment those became possible to enter an actual transaction, we would see Walmart, Cargill, Costco brought to their knees. When I went up to D.C. to testify, Congressman Thomas Massey asked me to come up and to testify in these congressional hearings. There were 8 Republicans, 8 Democrats on the committee. The Democrats, I'm not trying to be partisan here. The Democrats, to the person, every one of them was, we need to get, you know, antitrust going. We need to break up these big outfits and get the Federal Trade Commission in there and do antitrust. We don't need antitrust. All we need is freedom. And if entrepreneurs could access their neighbors and friends with food without going to jail and without mountain loads of licensing and compliance reports and everything else, okay, all right, without bureaucratic intervention. Again, I'm back to you and I as consenting adults exercising freedom of choice, all right, to engage in a food transaction without a bureaucrat in the middle of us. If we could do that, it would absolutely topple the big food oligarchs in this country. It would topple them, which is why they fear so vehemently food freedom.
Yeah.
They will say, oh, you know, we'll have unsafe food. We'll have people eating bad stuff. I mean, that's what they say.
Right.
The problem is in our country now, we have arrogated to the federal level so many things that we can't even try a prototype. You know, like our Commissioner of Agriculture, when he called me aside during the hearing and said, Joel, if we give people freedom of choice, we won't be able to build enough hospitals for all the sick people. The problem is I can't say, well, this locality did it and people got better.
Mm-hmm.
Because if a locality tries it, the federal government says, no, you can't do this.
Yeah.
And so the problem is we don't have the freedom of even, if our county wanted to say, you know what, in our county, if 2 people want to engage in consensual food transactions, In our county, we're going to let it happen, and that's not a bureaucratic issue.
You think it's really interesting that we live in a time where the government says being 50 different genders at once is okay, but drinking raw milk isn't?
Oh, yeah, it's unspeakable. Yeah, what do you say about that? But the problem is we don't have the freedom to try
Right.
so that if our county did this, and guess what? Food prices came down, people got healthier, and the hospitals were suddenly, over 5 years got empty.
How do we make it so that where we live locally, we're able to do these things? We are able to buy and sell food with our neighbors and get
Well,
access to raw milk.
this is the kind of food sovereignty stuff that we're talking about. This is why Thomas Massey has put in this congressional amendment to give us the rights in food that we have, for example, in guns. And this is why I've said, when Americans are as interested in food rights as they are gun rights, we're going to see a different country. And that's the truth. What does it matter if you have the freedom to go shoot, pray, and preach if you don't have the freedom to choose your body's fuel to give your microbiome enough energy to go shoot, pray, and preach?
I happen to be here. We're recording in May. This comes out in June. But I'm here for the Rogue Food Conference. Is this something that happens annually? Is this something that people can come to next year? And what is it?
I wrote a book, Everything I Want to Do is Illegal. And it grew out of my frustration with I speak all over the world, and the most common thing I hear from farmers is, well, I want to do this, but the government, the SWAT team came in, the whatever. And we'd like to do a lot of things that we'd like to do, but we don't because they're illegal. And so I said, what we need, we need to come alongside and encourage and help folks who are circumventing and not complying. I got with John Moody, and fortunately he was willing to kind of do the behind the scenes. I'm just the idea guy, visionary, but somebody's got to actually make phone calls and websites and make it happen. So John did all that. We had our first one in February of 2020.
That's bold.
2 weeks before the lockdowns.
Wow, how crazy
2 weeks
is
before the
that?
lockdowns. And it was like drinking out of a freedom fire hose for the day. It was unbelievable. And so then we had another one. We didn't do one in 2021. We did another one in 2022. This is I think our 8th one coming up. And we're trying to do now 2 a year and move it around the country. So in the fall, we'll be in Dallas.
Oh, great.
And in the spring, we'll be in Florida. And we've been in Washington State. We've been in Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida. I know they're wanting us to come to New England. So our plan is, and this thing's getting legs. I mean, people are in. You cannot imagine the latent entrepreneurial desire of farmers out there. They know their neighbors want this stuff, but they can't get it to them because there's a bureaucratic, wall between them. So the idea here is that we are shining a spotlight on people and ideas that circumvent. There comes a point when tyranny is so big that it's more efficacious to circumvent than comply. And I think that's where we are now in many respects. And so we're shining a light on alternative ideas and the people who are creating space, creating circumventive procedures, protocols, and not going to jail and being successful so that they get a spotlight, they get a platform, they get a stage to explain, here's how we do it, here's what we do, and we've been doing this, and this is how you do it. And we're just seeing hundreds and hundreds of farmers empowered.
Great.
To bring to their communities.
And you don't have to be a farmer to come. I mean, obviously, I'm not a farmer. I came and I did the tour and I listened. Yeah. So if somebody wants to go to the Dallas conference this fall, where do they go to get tickets?
www.roguefoodconference.org.
Okay. What do you hope that your legacy will be on the American food system?
Our mission statement here is to develop environmentally, emotionally, and economically enhancing agricultural prototypes and facilitate their duplication throughout the world. So what I want to see are thousands and thousands of successful ecologically based farmers, and I'm just using that as a very broad brush. I don't want to use regenerative anymore. It's now overused. I mean, I've grown through, sustainable, natural, sustainable, organic, now regenerative.
It's a buzzword to you.
Every 10 years there's a new word. So just we all know what we mean. All right. So just it's just good farming. Okay, good for the worms. We could say earthworm friendly. Maybe that would be a phrase to say.
Has your wife ever asked you if you would still love her if she was a worm?
I don't think I love her the same way, but yeah, okay. So what I want to see is talk about spicy. I want to see thousands and thousands of successful farm families embrace this, run with it, and build a soil healing, water encouraging, nutrient dense food system for their people, and then millions of non-farmers sign up and say, yes, I will join the healing movement. And I don't mean a woo-woo, I
The
mean
healing food movement.
the healing
ministry.
food and land movement. Yeah.
Mhm.
So our little phrase here on all of our bags at Polyface is healing the land one bite at a time.
Yeah.
We want people to understand that what is on your menu is going to define the landscape your grandchildren inherit.
And who can buy Polyface food? Only locals?
No, we ship nationwide. We ship every Tuesday and Wednesday.
Even eggs?
Even eggs.
How does that not break in the mail?
Well, it took us a while to find good packaging. But I think we've only had 1 dozen crack.
Wow, that's really good.
In a long time, in all the time. So
meat and eggs and
cheese. We don't make, but we work with a local A2 grass-based organic dairy. He is organic certified. Mennonite, horse and buggy Mennonite actually, who has a wonderful cheese room. And so there are other things that you can get too.
If you're looking at a family of 4, a mom, dad, 2 kids, who in that family holds the key to stopping big food?
Mom. Oh, no, I mean, look, all of our customers are women. I mean, men don't do anything but open the refrigerator and say, honey, I can't find it. And that's all men do. So basically, 95% of all food decisions or food purchases are made by women. Unfortunately, right now, about 70% of food decisions are made by people under 6.
What does that mean?
That means children are watching TV ads, watching celebrity ads, and they're saying, I want this for dinner.
What happened to parenting?
Well, it's gone down the wayside because we worship children.
Unbelievable.
Way more than half of all, menus now are chosen by children based on YouTube, TV ads, friendship, this kind of thing. And so it's time for mom to step up to the plate and say, you know what, as for my house, we're going to eat healthy, and we're going to create a landscape that is healthy, and we're going to instill in our children. One of the reasons we do this is because we respect and honor the biology and the life and the beings that are sacrificing for us. There's no sacredness in a Tyson chicken being butchered. They're just glad to be put out of their misery. But one of our chickens that lives in the fresh air, sunshine, eats grasshoppers and grass and gets to run around and have a wonderful life, that sacrifice becomes sacred. And I think it's important for children to grow up understanding part of why we eat this is because it ultimately respects and honors the life that the carrot, the chicken, the cabbage, the whatever gave that we may live. That's one of the most fundamental principles of respect and honor that we can bestow on each other. And it heightens the sanctity of life to a place that's not just about abortion. It's about my life, your life, our collective life, and putting sacredness into that life space. And it starts by honoring the least of these, which then creates an ethical framework to honoring the greatest of these, which is each other.
Well, the audience should know that Joel said we had free range of the farm, we had drones going, we had multiple cameras going, and this week on the Real Alex Clark YouTube channel, you can actually watch an entire vlog of me touring Polyface, so you can see what it's like if you can't get here yourself. But as Joel said, you're welcome anytime. You, your kids, your homeschool co-op, whatever, bring them out here, explore Polyface. I cannot thank you enough, Joel, for your hospitality for my team and I. It has been a career high for me to interview you. So thank you for everything that you've done.
Thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege to be with you. It's been great to have you, and hope this won't be your last visit.
Still on a high from this interview and trip, one of the best I've ever done. If you can ever go to one of his conferences that he mentioned, you really should. Next week is the 4th of July if you're listening to this show in real time, and the holiday lands on Thursday, which is when we normally release. So as a little treat, I am releasing next week's episode early on Tuesday night, July 2nd at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. See if you can guess who I'll be talking to. She's an absolute legend in the new youth conservative movement. You've heard her story, at least you think you have, but you probably don't know how she met her British husband, why she refuses to swim, or her answer as to why she posed in that controversial conservative calendar. As per usual, I got the tea. That is next Tuesday night, anywhere you listen to podcasts and the Real Alex Clark YouTube channel. Are you new here? Please leave a 5-star review for us. I'm Alex Clark, and this is The Spillover. Love you, mean it. Bye.